Hey there, it's me, Amy. I am so excited to be here today to share with you 3 strategies for easy, healthy school lunches. If you're anything like me, the school year's coming up, you're already getting nervous about how you're going to pack lunch. I don't have all the answers, but I do have 3 things that have worked for me, and I'm going to share them with you in today's episode. All right, I am coming at you for the very first time from our new house. Those of you who've been listening for a while know that we recently moved from Seattle to Northern California. We are here. Calling us settled would be generous, but we're here at the house. If you're watching me on video on YouTube or Facebook or Instagram or any of those places, you can see my new kitchen in the background. So it looks a little bit different from what you may have seen in the past. And this change, this move has brought with it a lot of changes. We've only been here at the house for about a week and a half now. And so it has brought a lot of change for the kids and I, and of course my husband, but he's been here a little bit longer than us getting settled with work. And it's been good and challenging and all of those things. Any of you who have ever moved with kids know that it brings with it like this extra emotional aspect that I maybe hadn't prepared myself for, with moving with a 5-year-old who has lots of feelings about moving and doesn't know how to express those feelings. So I have been working through that and really focused on that. But I finally restarted focusing on food and school last night when I was solo at Target. All the other moms holler, you know, solo at Target is like vacation essentially. And I finally had some space and I was thinking, oh my gosh, I'm really nervous about packing school lunch for a kindergartner because he's bigger and he has less time and it's more like solo than it was in preschool. And I was honestly almost in tears in Target over this school lunch and changes and school happening. And then my younger guy is going to a preschool where he can have nuts, and peanut butter and jelly have been like the staple of my lunch packing. And it's just a lot. So if school lunch packing feels like a lot to you, which I know it probably does, then know that I'm in this with you. That feels like a lot to like navigate the social pieces of lunch packing, that I want my kids to have things that look familiar to other kids and that there's some picture of that as the kids get older. But I also want to make good choices for them. And I want to do all of that without making it really hard on myself. And I know that you also feel this way because when I asked on Instagram what people wanted to hear about, overwhelmingly, you guys said you wanted to hear about easy, healthy school lunches. So I have 3 strategies today that have worked for me in packing school lunches. But I tell you that story because I want you to know that if you are frustrated or nervous or confused about packing lunches, you're not alone. I'm in it with you, and I'm going to share what I learned along the way. This is what I've learned so far, and I'm going to continue sharing throughout the school year as we go along because I am navigating this with you. And truthfully, I haven't talked to any mom who's like, I got school lunches down, it never changes. My kids are 10 and it never changes again, because like anything with parenting, the landscape for food and the social aspects of food and the way that you pack things is always changing. All of that said, I'm going to tell you what I do now. So I'm going to share my 3 strategies for easy, healthy school lunch packing, and I'll tell you what they are right now, and then I'm going to dive into each one in individual detail pretty quickly because I know that your time is limited, especially in this busy end of summer, beginning of school season, which feels like a weird time to me. Does it feel weird to you too? All right. So the first tip number 1 is to give yourself parameters. I'll talk about that in a minute. The second is to prep ahead as much as possible. And the third is keep it simple with staple items. And I'll talk about how to upgrade some of your school lunch options so that you can feel really good about what you're sending with your kid. This is my spot to remind you that when it comes to things like feeding your kids, I go by the Division of Responsibility in Feeding, which was created by Ellen Satter. I will include a link to that in the show notes at cookingwithafullplate.com/easy healthy school lunches. And what Ellen Sauter tells us is that as a parent, you are responsible for the what, the when, and the where of the feeding, and your kids are responsible for the how much and the whether. So I want you to let go of any responsibility you feel for making sure that your kids eat their whole lunch. You're likely not there with them. You don't know how much time you have. You don't know what the situation is. You are in charge of the what, most of all, when it comes to lunches. The when, I guess, sort of the school's really in charge of that. And the where is also what the school's in charge of. So good news, you're just in charge of what you send for lunch. Let's talk about that. So strategy number 1, give yourself parameters. Lately, in this very busy season of my life, I have been especially obsessed with the idea of how structure can create freedom. And I've been thinking about that in a lot of ways, but specifically when it comes to school lunches, I started with Bent-Go kids lunch boxes. If you're watching on video, I'm showing you one of my Bent-Go lunch boxes. I love these for little kids. They're recommended for ages like 3 through 7. So they might not be perfect for everyone listening, but 3 through 7, or at least 3 through 5, I've really enjoyed these. My kids started with them actually at 2. I love them because they can be pretty easily opened by little hands or with a little bit of help. But my favorite part is that they create the structure for you. Meaning a bento box is this like divided up lunch box that gives you some built-in structure to how you're going to pack lunch. And I will talk to you in a minute about how I do mine, but I just want to give this caveat that there are many bento lunch boxes out there. There's no reason that the Bento one is the very best. People who are looking to avoid plastic, I've heard really good things about the Planet lunch boxes, I believe that it is, and I'll include that link in the show notes as well. They're a little bit pricier, so I've been nervous to give them to my kids, so I stick with plastic for the lunchbox and metal for the water bottle, but you do what works for you. I love the Bent-Go because you can buy different inserts. I'm going to talk about that in a minute, but I also love the size of these inserts. So this is the structure that I've created for myself. There's a large container. In there goes either a sandwich. We do peanut butter and jelly, which I guess I won't be able to do, on Dave's Killer Bread. So always whole grain bread, always natural peanut butter, always fruit sweetened jelly. Those are my staples. And then that gets half a sandwich. My kids are usually happy with that. Sometimes I'll trade that out for turkey, and sometimes I will put cheese and crackers in here if I'm feeling adventurous. But the kids love peanut butter and jelly, so I stick with what works. Then I have another container, and which one is which often changes, but I make sure there's one small container of veggies, one of fruit, and one of something else. That might be pretzels, that might be hard boiled eggs, that might be a cheese stick. The something else varies. And then there's a small one. Sometimes I'll put dip in there, but honestly, I usually put a little treat for my kids in there. That could be some chocolate chips, that could be a few gummy bears, that could be a like date ball. Costco sells these ones that we used to buy that the kids liked. They've changed their mind since. There's granola balls at Costco. We also put those in there. There's all kinds of things. Sometimes I'll just do a date in there, all kinds of options, but I like to do a little treat in the kids' lunch just for something fun. So the reason that I say that structure can create freedom in this case is because since I know that I need a big item, cheese and crackers, sandwich, I need a like snacky item, cheese, hard-boiled egg, pretzels. I need a vegetable and I need a fruit, and then I need a treat. It makes my shopping really easy. I don't give the kids the same thing every day, but I give the kids the same variety of items every day. And so I'm not having to constantly decide like, oh, how much is too much of a snack or whatever it looks like. I just fill the treat container that or fill the container that I'm using that day. Hello, talking card. And then move on with my day. So I would encourage you, whether you have a Bento lunchbox or a bento style lunchbox or whatever it is that you have, to create some structure for yourself. I'm going to share mine in those show notes with kind of like a picture of how I set things up. It doesn't matter what lunchbox you're using. And frankly, it doesn't really matter what your structure is. Give yourself some structure so you know exactly what needs to be included in there. Like I said, mine is a main, a vegetable, a fruit, some sort of like snacky thing, whether it be hard boiled egg, cheese, pretzels, crackers, those kinds of things, and then a small treat. And that structure is going to help you stop making the same decisions over and over again, because I trust that within the sandwich category, your kids have certain things that they like and don't like that they will and won't eat in their lunch. And I suspect that that broadens the older your kids get. So maybe if you have older kids and you have a main section, you get to be a little bit more creative. You can put pasta salad or pasta or roll-ups. And I'm going to link to my friend Jillian's site, Lala Lunchbox. She posts the most amazing lunches on Instagram. And I want you to check them out if you're looking for more inspiration. I keep mine really simple. I have no shame in my simplicity game when it comes to school lunches. You shouldn't either. Let's talk about that next. So my second strategy for easy, healthy school lunches is to prep ahead. Honestly, like this is so simple, it's ridiculous. I like the Bento lunchboxes. A second reason, you'll spend about $25 to $30 on the full case, which comes with one insert, but you can get extra inserts with lids for about $10. I've gotten them as low as $6 in the past. So I pack at least 2 lunches for each kid at a time, because that means I'm not scrambling every morning. And on top of that, so that I'm not prepping over and over again, I'll cut up anything that will last, like sliced bell peppers, sliced cucumbers, which each kid likes differently. I'll cut those up ahead of time and store them in the fridge. So because I have those parameters, I know exactly what I can prep ahead. And then I take those prep things and I just put them into the lunchbox when I have another tray available. I try to do like 2 at the beginning of the week, 2 in the middle of the week, and then I just have to pack Friday, and it makes like Friday feel like a break to only pack one. And my friend Jillian, again from Lala Lunchbox, she is big on packing the night before. She's always on me if I haven't done that. You should listen to her. Prep ahead in bulk at the beginning of the week. You can even, by the way, did you know you can freeze sandwiches? Like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches can be made ahead, stuck in the freezer, and then just pull out half or however much your kids will eat and put it into the lunchbox. And I know people do this with meat or cheese sandwiches also. We don't eat as much as that, but give it a shot, see what happens. Definitely the fresh vegetables, many of them can be prepped ahead. We like bell peppers, cucumbers, avocado wouldn't be good ahead, but sometimes I'll serve that. Oranges can be peeled into their slices. Apples with a little bit of lemon on them can be done sliced up ahead of time. Berries, I don't love to do ahead of time as much, though I do have a tip for doing berries. If you're watching on video, Mr. 5-year-old himself has shown up. What other things do we put in your lunch that we prep ahead of time? And then of course I buy like organic cheese sticks at Costco, which requires no prep. I'll prep hard-boiled eggs at the beginning of the week and just store them in the fridge. And all of that makes actually packing the lunch really, really easy. Another way for easy, healthy school lunches. And then my final strategy is to keep it simple with staple items. So like I said, you're going to start with your parameters. What do I need? What goes into lunch each day so that you have a framework to work within? Then you're going to prep whatever you can ahead. And the third is to use these staple item upgrades to make your school lunches even healthier, even if they don't look like fancy or varied or any of those kinds of things. So some examples of this is when we do pretzels, we do Farm to Fork is the cauliflower pretzel brand, or Quinn makes a good gluten-free whole grain pretzel. These simple changes for like what is normally like a white flour pretzel for something a little bit more nutritious goes a long way to creating more balance in the lunch. I mentioned earlier that when I do peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, it's with Dave's Killer whole grain bread. I look for the one that doesn't have sugar in it. I use only natural peanut butter or almond butter, which means when you flip it over, it's just nuts and salt. I don't want any extra hydrogenated oils or anything like that. And then the jam that I get is fruit sweetened. Crofters makes a good organic fruit sweetened one. It does have fruit juice concentrate, but it doesn't have any added sugars. And so that's a really nice way to take something that is like your standard lunch that you wouldn't think of as being all that healthy and just upgrading it a little bit. What other upgrades do? We do the pasture raised eggs, which I've talked about in the past, so that there's some extra nutrition packed in those egg yolks that my kids will sometimes eat. We do organic cheese sticks. I actually just bought a huge pack at Costco, which is much more affordable than buying the ridiculously expensive 6-pack at Whole Foods. What else do we have in lunches?
Egg.
You like egg in your lunches?
Yeah.
Every once in a while, do those like Chomps meat sticks in their lunches. That's another option. I am clearly not in school lunch packing mode, so I too am going to get back in the mode. But I hope that it was helpful to hear these 3 strategies. Again, give yourself some parameters, prep ahead, and keep it simple with staple items. If you have any questions about the lunch boxes we use or how you can do some more effective prep ahead, I'd love for you to pop over to the show notes, cookingwithafullplate.com/easy healthy school lunches. You can also find me over on Instagram. That's where I'm hanging out most these days, at Cooking with a Full Plate. Let me know what your questions are. And your action item for this week, because I always give you one, is to let me know what is one awesome thing you can pack in your school lunches this year. For me, awesome means both nutritious and something your kids will eat, and delicious, ideally. Maybe those two go hand in hand. Hop on over to Instagram. Let me know what that one thing is. And then here's an extra step. Go ahead and write it down. Start making a list of what those things are so that you're not standing in the grocery store making the same decision over and over again when it comes to the school year. I hope you have a great end of your summer and a great start to your school year, whenever that may be. I will talk to you next Tuesday.